I had this showcase in Denver, Colorado, where I I think it was my best performance ever in my whole life, which was very pivotal because it was like it was the last showcase before the rule change.
Hello, and welcome to the Kick It with Katie podcast. I am your host, Katie Colliker, and thank you for joining me today for episode 5. I did take a few days off for the long weekend that we just had here in the States. If you're listening live, it was just Martin Luther King weekend, and one of my son's soccer teams went down to Las Vegas for a tournament for the Vegas Cup, and they won all of their group games, and unfortunately they lost to a very good team in the quarterfinals. The team they lost to ended up winning the whole tournament for their age group. So it was a good team that they lost to at least, but obviously not the result that we wanted. So anyway, so I did take a few days off from podcasting, and I'm back. So I'm releasing this episode a few days late, but I just wanted to make sure that I got this episode out there. So today's episode is going to feature my interview I did with Ellie Walbruch. Ellie grew up here in Utah, and she is currently a collegiate athlete, and I will let her tell her story in a few minutes. But I just want to remind you guys just to make sure that you go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen, give me a review, subscribe, and also share these players' stories because they're wanting to get their stories, examples, their advice out there to youth players of today. And so that is the purpose of the podcast, so that youth players of today can learn from their experiences. So if you subscribe and give me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, then the podcast becomes more available and searchable for people that can get this kind of content. Also, if you want to be a guest on future episodes, you can send me an email to kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com, and that information is in the show description and show notes. And also you can find me on Instagram at kickitwithkatiepodcast, and there's underscore between all the words. And again, that is also available in the show description and show notes. Like I said in my last episode, I will be doing a giveaway soon. So please make sure that you follow me on Instagram so that you can enter the drawing for the giveaway. And you'll have to find out on Instagram when that goes live, but it's going to be here in probably the next week if you're listening live. It's going to be an end of January giveaway drawing, so please make sure you're following me on Instagram to be able to get entered. But now that housekeeping stuff is taken care of, I am excited to share with you my interview that I did with Ellie Walbruch. Basically, what I want you to do is just share your experiences growing up playing youth soccer. So when you first started, when you were first exposed to the game, who you played for, any major experiences, good or bad, that you remember that had an impact on your soccer.
Just kind of like an intro, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, just everything.
Well, I'm Ellie Walbruch. I was born in Denver, Colorado, but I say I was born in Utah because I kind of moved here when I was like 3. My dad played college soccer at Denver University, so that's kind of how I kind of got into soccer. He really showed his love for the game through me. My older brother Kyle played. He played with Sparta, so he played with Justice. He loved it. I really practiced with him all through growing up. He really showed me how to love soccer, kind of. So props to my older brother. But I grew up playing on Celtic until I was about 12. I grew up playing in the academy and just kind of Premier One level soccer. And then decided, my dad was my coach at the time, and so I decided to move over to LaRocca when the DA was kind of starting. So I moved there when I was about 12, and I had to drive up to Ogden every day. So that was a huge sacrifice, but I think it was for the best and it was the best opportunity for me to play in the DA to showcase myself. So I moved up to La Roca. My first coach was Rolly Hidalgo. I loved him and I learned a lot and I grew a lot as a player. I played up a year, so I was a 2004, but I played up on the 2003 team, just kind of because I thought that was the best way to push myself. That's what really I think helped me grow and grow faster as an athlete, as a player. So I give a lot of credit to Rolly for really preparing me for the DA. And then the year after Rolly, I played for him for about a year. And then after Adolfo Avale took over our team, and that's when we moved into the DA, the Development Academy, connected with US Soccer. And I think that's kind of the turning point in my career because, I mean, the DA, it was just a whole different experience from Premier One soccer in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
You were playing against the best players from different states. There was about 60 to 70 college scouts on the sidelines at each game at the showcases. There was US scouts at the game. So it really, I mean, I think the DA really shifted my soccer career, and I think it was for the best to move up there to La Roca. I give a lot of credit to my teammates. They were there through it all. Adolfo, I mean, he really pushed me to be the player I am today. I still call him to this day, and he helps me and everything. I feel like he's like a father figure to me. Yeah, so that kind of happened. I moved to La Roca. Then about my freshman year, I think that's kind of when recruiting started, kind of finished for me. So I was recruited like eighth grade. I know that's super early, but that's kind of how it was back then before the rule change. But I was recruited eighth grade through the DA, through US Scouts, kind of through Adolfo. But yeah, I was talking to a bunch of schools. Adolfo really helped me in that.
Mm-hmm.
I had this showcase in Denver, Colorado, where I I think it was my best performance ever in my whole life, which was very pivotal because it was like it was the last showcase before the rule change started. So I was deciding if I should commit before the rule change or if I should wait and commit after the rule change, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad I committed before because COVID eventually happened. So
Right.
basically, Denver Showcase comes along. I've played in one of the best games of my life. I scored 4 goals with UCLA on the sidelines, Stanford on the sidelines, all my top 5 colleges on the sidelines. And I mean, I was so overwhelmed because right after that game, I got phone calls after phone calls asking, offering me, telling me to commit. So, I mean, it was very overwhelming. It was super overwhelming. And that night, I kind of had a feeling that I should commit. I didn't really know where, but then UCLA offered me, and that was at the time where Amanda Cromwell and Sam Green were the coaching staff, and they offered me a really good offer, and I decided to commit that night right before the rule change. So I think it was May 30th,
Mm-hmm.
May 31st, and the rule change was June 1st. So it was basically that night I committed, and I'm grateful for it. And yeah, it was the best. But yeah, I really think that Denver showcase was pivotal. I mean, yeah, I don't know any other words to say, but yeah. So then I was committed, and that I think I had pressure on my back for being committed, especially how early it was. I was a freshman, but I mean, I love that. I love having pressure. I love having a name for myself, and I think that helped me. Honestly, I think some people fold under that kind of pressure, but I thrive off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think really the next few years in high school, which is like 10th, 11th, 12th, was really like awesome for me. I worked my butt off. It was like the grind time for me because I knew I wanted to go to UCLA. I wanted to play. I wanted to prove people wrong. I wanted to do everything. So I decided to graduate high school early and start in the spring of January 2021 for UCLA. So I graduated high school early. Oh, wait, pause. I actually missed a part. In the fall, I never played high school soccer. So in the fall, I decided to play with the boys, La Roca's boys. And in the fall after, I decided to go play for Real Colorado, the girls team down there. And I think that was super a good chance for me because Real Colorado has amazing coaches. I was lucky enough to play for Lauren Donaldson and Lyle. And Lauren Donaldson, as you know, he coached Sophia Sophia Smith, Mal Pugh, top level players, and
Mm-hmm.
I was I was fortunate enough to play under him, and I think he really helped me get to the next level. He was very professional in how he trained, and I would train with him before and after team practice. So that was a pivotal moment for me as well because I mean, he coached a lot of UCLA players and he kind of got me ready for to graduate early. But okay, so after that, then I go into UCLA spring season. I think I grew a lot as a player. I mean, I think it was very worth it to graduate high school early, I think, because for me, we had 10 freshmen coming in at UCLA, and I was there was three that graduated early, and I think it was the best because I adapted to soccer, the speed of play. I adapted to the academics, the social life, because I mean, California is very different from Utah
Mm-hmm.
County. So I think that was very good that I graduated early and kind of got a feel for it. And I think I grew a lot as a player. It was great to like get used to the stage. We played USC a one big game and I played really well in it. I had an assist. So I kind of just got the feel for the college game. And then I came home and just kind of worked my butt off. It was grind season because, fall comes around quicker than you imagine and you really want to play. And then there's seven more freshmen coming in, so you really have to earn your spot with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all national team players, so that they have that under their belt as well, which is hard because I've never been on the national team. I mean, I've gotten a virtual camp once, but never have got an opportunity to showcase myself, which it's coming. I feel it. But yeah, so then I go into UCLA and fall starts, and I mean, we have an amazing season. I mean, we were number one in the nation basically the whole time. The practice environment, it's just a whole different level. It's so competitive. Everybody wants to win. You're trying to fight for playing time, and there's 39 girls on the roster, so it's very competitive and it's a hard environment. But like I said, I love that environment. That's one of the reasons why I chose to go to UCLA. I think I grew as a lot as a player there, especially with the girls, with US national girls. I mean, you're competing against them every day. Kind of UCLA kept going. We had a great run, and then we get to the national championship, and I mean, we ended up winning it. And I mean, you dream of that environment. It's so surreal. The atmosphere, everything about it. You're like, wow, I'm here. I've dreamt about this since I was a little girl. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was crazy. It was super surreal, and I think that game really taught you like, I mean, we were down 2-0 and came back and won 3-2. So it's just like you never give up, and that's what we did. And to be with those girls and like knowing that I helped them get there and we trained all the time and I mean it was just awesome. I mean I won a national championship, not a lot of people can say that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was super cool to be a part of it. But kind of my decision of why to transfer, I transferred to BYU, but about 6 weeks into 6 weeks left in the season, I kind of just had like a thought like what does my future look like? Just kind of yeah, like thinking about the future and what my future holds. And I just had a lot of talks with my family and my friends, and I think a transfer was in my in the way in the lead. And yeah, I just thought it was best for me. I think I'm really gonna thrive at BYU. I'm really excited, especially to play under Jen Rockwood. I mean, I've known her since I was 3, since I was
Mm-hmm.
4. She coached me in the academy. Yeah, I wouldn't trade any of my time at UCLA, but I think it was the best thing for me. The girls were amazing, but yeah, it's a new chapter for me, and I'm super excited. And my my goal is to play professional soccer, and I think BYU can help me get there. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of my story so far. It's still to be written, but yeah.
Yeah, you've accomplished a lot, which is amazing to see. And we've seen a lot of great athletes come out of our state, and so that's awesome
Hmm.
that you're able to be one of them to pave the way for these young girls. So you played up in age. So
Hmm.
how was that? Like when you transitioned, like do you feel like it was, obviously it was a great decision, but were there any obstacles for you as a player playing up? Like did you ever feel deficient in any way, or was your team just super accepting any issues with that with you playing up, or did you ever consider playing in your own age?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I didn't really have any difficulty times playing up. I mean, I've played up since I was a little girl. I've played up since I was, I think, 6 or 7. I just feel like I was on a different level and I needed to be pushed more, and I feel like
Hmm.
playing up did that for me. I think my coaches were a big help in that. Adolfo and Rolly really helped set the team, and like Ellie, she's younger, but I mean, treat her the same. She's our player. I mean, yeah, I don't really have any. I wish I had a, you know, but it was really cool to have the coaches there that believed in you, even though you were younger. I think that was a big thing because you have those thoughts in your head about, am I too young for this? Am I not good enough to play up? But I mean, your coaches really have a big input into your head, and Rolly and Adolfo especially did that for me because they're like, Ellie, you can compete with these girls. You're a goal scorer, keep scoring goals, and I mean, I think I thrived off of that, and that's what helped me.
Yeah, sounds
So
like you
yeah.
had a great support system there.
Mhm.
So when you were in the DA and traveling a lot
Yeah.
with the DA, how was that like socially, mentally, emotionally for you as a player having to travel?
Mhm.
You obviously have to miss out on personal experiences, school stuff gets missed. So how did you deal with that?
Yeah. I mean, the DA was like the best years of my life. I loved every minute of it. Traveling with my team, I mean, they were my best friends, and it was super awesome to travel with them, play against the best. But I think from a young age, I really knew what I wanted, and I knew that my goal is to play professionally, and soccer was my life. And I think that's a big thing that you need to figure out at such a young age, which sucks to say, but I think it's true. Yeah, you do have to sacrifice a lot for what you want, and I think I drove 2 hours to practice every day. I mean, I didn't really have a social life at school, but my my teammates were my best friends, and I really stuck by that. But I mean, you'd miss football games, you miss friend events, but at the end of the day, I knew soccer was my life, and I want to play professionally, so it kind of has to start now. I think either way, either path you go, it'll work out. And if soccer isn't, if you still want to play soccer right now, I mean, yeah, it's just I think you have to figure out what you want at a young age. I mean, that's what I did, and I sacrificed a lot, but it was all worth it. So, yeah, I mean, I just say you'd have to sacrifice, but it's a good thing.
So you had mentioned that you didn't play high school soccer, and I have my own personal opinions about high school soccer. So what were your influences on choosing to not play high school soccer when I mean, I don't know, did your team decide to not do it, or was it just you or a few girls?
Yeah. Most of my team did actually play high school soccer. They loved it. For me, I feel like high school soccer was kind of a step down, and I really wanted to prepare myself, like step down speed of
Hmm.
play wise, and I really wanted to prepare myself for the DA season because it was in the fall. It was in the fall, maybe it was in the spring. I don't remember, but I knew playing with the boys would really help me. I mean, they're big, they're fast, they're strong. The speed of play is way faster, but I think it really helped me prepare for the DA season because I mean, you're playing against bigger, faster, stronger girls, especially playing up like I was playing up. So I was just kind of getting used to that speed of play, the strong, and yeah, I mean, I really am glad I didn't play high school soccer because I mean, there's a lot of injuries going on with it as well. But I think playing with the boys really helped me prepare for DA and ECNL time when it came around. But either one is not bad. It just depends on you personally. And me personally, I felt like playing with boys would help me in the long run.
Awesome. So you guys traveled for like DA stuff. Was there any specific tournaments or events other than like you had mentioned Colorado, the Colorado Showcase,
Hmm.
that are super memorable for you? Not necessarily even on the field or whether your team won it or anything, but any favorite tournaments that you guys went to or travel time as a team?
Yeah, I think yeah, I think as one of them as a team was going to North Carolina because I don't think anyone really has been to North Carolina. So it was super cool to go there. And I mean, we had a pretty good showcase, which was I mean, that's always a good sign, but it was cool because we got a tour Duke and North Carolina UNC's campuses and we were still young at the time, so we're like, "Oh, this is what we're going to be. This is what we're going to be like a college athlete." So, I mean, I think that was super cool because it kind of showed like what your next years look like is so because we got to go to the Duke Stadium, we got to go to the UNC Stadium, and it was just like this is our future. The sky's the limit, and I think it was super cool to be part of the team because I mean we were like we've all worked so hard for this, and like this is what is gonna come. So I think North Carolina was a great one. Yeah, I think North Carolina right after Denver was a great showcase.
Was that the same year? So Justice, one of his teams went to North Carolina one year for, it wasn't like DA, but National League or something,
It was National League.
and
Yeah,
the fit and it like flooded, like they all had to, it
it
like
was rainy.
snowed and
Yes,
they all had to like
yes.
get flight, like the event ended up being canceled and it was crazy. Were you guys there for that?
Yeah, I don't know if it was, I mean, I think nationally was a week after, but the week we went, it was like super rainy. So, I mean, the fields were like all muddy and stuff. So, like, you were all drenched in mud and stuff. But no, I remember that because it was pouring rain. The weather was horrible. But yeah, I think National League was a week after.
Yeah, yeah, that was crazy because I think it like snowed and weather was just nuts.
Awful. I know. I remember that. Yeah.
What specific position or positions do you play, and what advice do you have for other players in your same position?
I play a nine and I play the striker, number nine, or a false nine. You guys have heard of that, or a number 10. I think I'm very versatile in the attack, so I can really play anywhere. But some advice I'd give is, I mean, if you're playing a nine, you have to be a goal scorer, you have to be a finisher, and I think you really have to be a specialist in that. You look around the world, you look at Holland, you look at Cristiano Ronaldo, you look at Harry Kane, they're all specialists in goal scorers. I mean, they're your goal scorer for the team, and that's what you really have to be good at. So, I mean, for me, I spend a lot of time working on finishing, striking the ball. Yeah, that's one thing I do. Another thing I think is hold up play. The nine, you really need to hold the ball for your team when things get up and you need to hold the ball for your team to come up. So I think playing the back to the goal, holding the ball, using your body, those are really big things a number nine needs. As a 10, I think really working on your first touch always has to be positive. I mean, those are what lethal number 10s do. You don't go back only if you have to because you're a 10, you're an attacker. So I think that's the advice I give. But yeah, definitely being a specialist in what you're good at. And for me, that's finishing. So that's what I work on a lot.
When did you start to specifically get trainers? Like, did you, when you were younger, was it more just playing the yard with your siblings? And then as you got older and more serious about it, you guys invested in getting trainers, or how did that come about? Like, what kind of extra training did you do
Yeah.
outside of your team trainings?
Since I was young, I always did extra. I think luckily my dad's he's big, he knows soccer. So I mean, from probably six to about I want to say like 10 probably, I really trained with my dad. We just did little stuff in the basement, outside. I really did drills with him, which is awesome because I loved working out. I love training with my dad. He's my best trainer I could have. So I would do that with my brother. Me and my brother and my dad would usually do that from a young age. And then I think from about 10 to where I am now, I was trained by James Jarmillo, JJ Soccer Drills. So he was my trainer. I'd usually train with him in the mornings before school. So about like 5 a.m. trainings, I'd train with him. And then after school, I had usually team trainings. But whenever I didn't have team trainings, I usually train with my dad in the afternoon. So James was kind of in the morning, and my dad was kind of afternoon. So I think that's what I really did off. Like when I didn't have training, I was always working. So I trained with my James and my dad, but I also had like a lift, I don't
Mm-hmm.
strength guy that I go with. I didn't start that till I was about 12, because I mean, you don't really need it until you get older. But I started that when I was 12, and I really give credit to Alex Neff because I mean, he's kept me in shape. I haven't had any major injuries. I mean, I tore my MCL. I sprained it a little bit, but no surgery, just PT. I really thank Alex and F for that. You have to do a lot outside of trainings. I think that's a big part of how I'm where I'm at is the extra things I did. But yeah, I give credit to all my trainers. They're awesome.
So you mentioned your MCL. So how old were you when that happened, and how did that impact your play, and how was the recovery and everything like that for you?
So I sprained my MCL. It was the last game before I went to college. So it was good timing, but bad timing, you know? I sprained it in November of 2021, and I was supposed to leave January 2022 to go to UCLA. So I like had a month of recovery. But I mean, I've never had a serious injury until then. So I was super scared about it because I thought it was my ACL because I thought I heard a pop,
Mm-hmm.
but luckily it wasn't, knock on wood. But I mean, it was super hard mentally because I was like, I've never had an injury. I'm going into UCLA injured. This is not good. I'm scared. And I really didn't get to train with the team up until it was 100% because the trainers were super strict. So it was kind of a hard time because I left my family. I left Utah. I'm injured. I can't even do the thing I love. But I think it was all mentally. I had a great support system saying, "Oh, you'll be back stronger than ever." But I really worked hard in the off of what I could do in the while I wasn't playing soccer. So whether that was running, doing fitness tests. I mean, I could still run on it. I couldn't really kick it because it was your MCL because it was like the inside of your knee. But
Mm-hmm.
it was hard mentally, but I think I had a great support system like that really helped me stay up in the times that I was down. Yeah, I really did everything I could to be still in shape for when I came back. And when I got back, it was awesome because I was back doing the thing I love, and it just eventually got better. And thankfully, it's still good today. So
When you went on tournaments with LaRocca, or when you were traveling with your teams, did your parents always go? Did you travel as a team? And how did those scenarios prepare you for going to UCLA on your own?
well, I'm very fortunate enough. My parents are very supportive, and so I mean, they'd come to mostly everything, which I loved. I loved them being there. They were my number one support system. But I think going to UCLA, I knew they were always going to support me in whatever I did. It was hard to leave them, but it was good because I needed to be on my own. I needed to do things on my own, and I knew they'd be at my games. I think for me, I had like a pressure on my back to do it, and they were always there for me. I mean, they loved me having pressure on my back. I mean, they were always there. But I think, yeah, DA was always you travel with the team. I mean, your parents could come, but they weren't allowed in your rooms. They weren't really allowed to be with you unless it was like after the games, but you were always with your team, which was super good because you learned how to do things on your own. I mean, you were sleeping with your teammates and it was like you were a professional college team. And I think that really helped me because I mean, I wasn't sleeping in my parents' room. You were very individual. You were focused on the game. You didn't really have any distractions. I know sometimes parents can be distractions like going into the game, but you were with your teammates, so you were all very focused. You were hyped, and I mean, it really prepared me for college because that's exactly how it is. I mean, you travel in college games, and it's the same thing. You're rooming with your teammates, and you're on the bus, and I mean, it was the same thing, and I think it's very good for teams to do that because it does prepare you for the next level, and it did prepare me for the next level. So I think that's a really good thing for teams to do.
A lot of good team unification also, where your
Right.
team
Yeah.
you're there with your team and you're able to bond and be friends on and off the field and things like that.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
When you decided to commit at such a young age as a freshman, was there ever, like, knowing you and your personality, you just wanted to keep going 110%? You wanted to give it your all. Have
Yeah.
you, I mean, because it could be really easy for a player in that situation to say, well, I'm already committed. I've already committed. So the next 3, 4 years, I'm just going to coast. What kept you
Right.
mentally determined to keep going? Obviously, you have super high goals set for yourself, and those are awesome goals and you're accomplishing them. So what other mental things did you help keep yourself going? Some people who could say, I've already signed, and then they kind of give up on their team.
Right. Coast. Yeah. I think for me, I mean, after I signed, I think it was only the start. I was like, the real work begins now. Because, I mean, you sign, you have a big pressure on your back. People are like, oh, she's going to UCLA, is she even good? Stuff like that. I think one thing for me, I thought in the back of my head each time, it's just like, I don't just want to go to UCLA. I want to actually play. I don't want to sit the bench. I want to play. And so that was always in the back of my head, to do more. Because I knew if I'm running right now and the person at UCLA, one of my future teammates isn't, that's
Mm-hmm.
a step up. So I mean, I think that was always in my head, and from the first time I signed, that I knew it was just the start. I knew the real work began now, and I that's what stayed in my head. And I think that was a big thing for me because I am a hard worker, and I do want to do everything I can to beat the person next to me, whether that's running, whether that's lifting, whether that's getting extra touches on the ball. I think that's really what stayed in my head through those years.
What advice do you have for youth players of today, having experienced the DA and going through different things, playing up? What advice do you have for other players today that you could give?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is just hard work. I mean, you have to do the extra things. It just can't be team training. It has to be running. It has to be lifting. It has to be extra touches on the ball. Because I mean, you're only with your team an hour and a half, and that's not enough. Honestly, I have to say it, but it's not enough. You got to do more. Another thing I'd say is you got to sacrifice. I know if you want to play in the big leagues, in the college and professionally, you have to sacrifice things, and it'll everything will work out, and you have to sacrifice, and it'll be good, and you'll get all those memories back. But it's the little things, and it got me where I am today. So I think hard work and sacrifice is the two things I could give you guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Ellie, for coming on today.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Thanks
You're
for having
welcome.
me.
See you later. Thank you so much, Ellie, for coming on and sharing your story and your experiences with us. I am so excited to see where you go because you are definitely somebody that is reaching for the stars, and I am excited to see where you go with your soccer journey. And we're definitely rooting for you, and hopefully we can have you back on the podcast in the future to see where you've ended up. So I can't wait to hear and see. I will put Ellie's Instagram information in the show description so you can find her if you want to know more about her and follow her throughout her collegiate journey. Give the podcast a 5-star review if you liked Ellie's story today, and please make sure you share it with other players so that more people can hear her story and know about her journey and see where she's going. I want to thank you for listening to the podcast today, and thank you for kicking it with me. Have a good day. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at kickitwithkatie_podcast _ all the words. You can reach out to me with questions at kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. I also have a feature with SpeakPipe where you can leave me your own voicemail message if you want to be featured on the podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.